Hey guys, welcome to another video. I'm Trey the DIY Ninja, and today I'm going to be showing you how I digitize using Embroidery Stitch Artist Level 2. I had a viewer request to show you how I digitized the elephant embroidery patch that I did in a previous video. I will put the card up here for you so you can click on that if you haven't seen it yet on the stitch out. But let's get started to begin with. Okay, so here I am in Stitch Artist, Embrilliance, Stitch Artist Level 2. This is the digitizing software that I use. There are 3 levels, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. Each level kind of has more features depending on what you want to use it for. Since I am somewhat of a beginner, I decided to just go straight in the middle and get Level 2. So here are the buttons. Up top, I have my contrast turned to reverse because it's easier for me to see things since I am legally blind. I mentioned that I can't see very well a lot in my videos, and that's why I'll go into detail eventually on my eye condition, but I mention it for a purpose so that when you see me doing things like this, know that if I can do it, you for sure can do it. And also know that if you see something on the screen and I'm looking for it and you're like, dude, it's right there, or there's something there, why didn't you see that? It's because I literally just don't see a lot of things. And so it takes me a lot longer to do things. So I was hesitant about making a digitizing video to begin with because it just takes me forever. But I also want to share what I've learned. So thank you so much to a viewer named Thomas Bow for requesting this video. So hopefully this helps you out, or you learn something from this, or whoever watches this, because it definitely probably took me a while to make this video, and this video will probably be very long. Anyways, over here, back to the top button bar. When you scroll over things and just hold it there, it'll tell you exactly what the button does. So right here, I'm going to go to the mouse, this over here with the mouse and the whatever paper, whatever that is, and it says create designs. I'm going to click on that. This button is only available if you have Stitch Artist in the Embrilliance program. I have to mention that I do not have Embrilliance Essentials, so that is probably their cheapest program. It's kind of like a general overall program to merge Stitch files. I can merge Stitch files in Stitch Artist already, so I just didn't want to pay an extra like $150 or something for it to do the same thing. I mean, there are other things like comes with fonts and graphics and things like that, but I make my own graphics and I don't use a lot of font. Whatever font is in here, I just use that. Okay, so I click this and you notice all my buttons changed. Let's see if I unclick this. Okay, so I unclick this. This is the main whatever. And I don't really use any of this stuff here except, yeah, I don't use any of this. So I just go straight to Stitch Artist. I'm going to go here into image and I'm going to pull in, actually, no, not that. I'm debating whether or not to start from scratch or to just modify the digitized file I had before. But for the sake of time, I'm going to show you how to open your image, but I will work on my previous file later. Okay, so click on image, go to where your image is stored. For me, I'll say embroidery graphics, and let's just find the elephant graphic that I did. Let's see. It's not here, unless I passed it. Oh, there's the pig. So this is just a preview of some stuff that I'm working on. But where's the elephant? Coco, unless I skipped it. Oh, here we go. Double click on that. It doesn't look like there's anything here, right? Well, you just have to click on this. What is this one called? Show or hide the background image button, okay? So usually when you click on it a couple times, it doesn't come up right away. You have to click on it and just to reveal the picture, and there it is. There's my elephant graphic. I just drew this off the top of my head and cleaned up the lines. The thing that took the longest of drawing this graphic was just cleaning up all the line work to make it look nice. Okay, so I drew this on Procreate on my iPad Pro, and that is how you would do it. So that you'd pull this up. and then I'll show you how to do the stitches. But for now, I'm going to highlight this over here on my right hand side. There's a little like object tree. I'm going to just delete this image because I don't need that at the moment. I'm going to go up here, instead of new, I'm going to go to the open, and I'm going to open my working file. So when you save things, you should always do save as, working, and what do they call it? So go to file. Well, I can't go right now, but I'll show you in a little bit. Let me just open the elephant file. Oh, this one. Here we go, elephant. Okay, so here is my elephant file. And let me turn off my stitches. So here is the original graphic again on the background. And I will turn on the stitches. So when I made the original video, like I digitized this relatively quickly because it's relatively simple. Simple line work, simple design, not a lot of colors, just 2 colors. And it came out perfectly, except for the fact that I accidentally, it's not very noticeable, but there's 2 rows of satin stitches up here on the head because they're 2 different objects. So when I click on this one here goes up here like this, and I mentioned in the other video like, oh, I should have been smarter about digitizing that, because I should have just did halfway like up here and up here, and then I should have did this as one object, because later on when I tried to match up the seams, like it wasn't obvious in the actual stitch out, but when I zoom in, if you're like a total perfectionist and you zoom in, you see the stitches don't necessarily match here. There's a little bit of a wobble. It's not clean lines. But on the actual stitch out, it's so small that you don't even notice it. It looks straight and they overlap perfectly. It looks really clean, really professional, really cool. And even the double satin stitch on this top was not that noticeable. But when you take a picture, like when I take a picture of it and I zoom in, I can see it. So I'm gonna just fix that, and I'll show you how I fix that, and by fixing this, I will also show you how to digitize. Okay, so I'm clicking here. I'm gonna click on this. Oops. What happened to my stitches? Oh, I must have clicked off. Okay. So I'm clicking on this object here. I'm just going to delete it because are you gonna let me delete you? There we go. So whatever you click on the object here, on the right hand side is the object in your object tree. Okay, so it's this one. And vice versa. If you click on the object tree, it'll highlight the object in the picture. I mean on your screen. So I'm gonna delete this. There we go. It's deleted. So I can see my lines. And let's see, should I delete this now or later? I'll delete this also, this object, because I'm going to draw that separately as well. Okay, so here we are. We have this elephant here, and you're like, how do you digitize? So everything you see here right now is a stitch. It's digitized. Let me zoom in. Do you see that? There are actual stitches. It's actual stitches. It's not like graphic color. Okay, and I did that by programming each object or item to become a stitch using a bitmap. So bitmap is just kind of like dots that you tell the computer equal an object. Okay, so these dots, so I put all these dots around the border of the elephant, let's say, and then I close the dots to make a shape, and I'm like, this is an object and I want this object to do this certain task, which is fill in with stitches. I want this whole object to be full of stitches. And then I made a duplicate object and I said, I want this object to be an outline of a satin stitch, and I want the satin stitch to be like this. And then I did the eyeballs and I said, I want this circle to be a fill stitch. I want it to be filled with stitches. So I'll show you how to do that by doing these lines. Okay, let me just zoom in a little more, get in the right spot. Okay, so first thing here, to draw. So this is how you set up your dots. And I use these 3 dots. This is draw with points. And when you click on a drawing tool, it automatically kind of like takes out whatever you've done. Like it's still there, but it just makes it invisible for the moment so that you can trace exactly where you want to trace. So you just basically use this as a guide, and I'm just going to do a dot on the lines here. And I like to make my drawings like the lines thicker just so I can see exactly where to put my points. Okay, and oops, you know what? I forgot. I'm gonna just delete all these dots. I'm gonna start from here because you want it follows the direction of your dots as well. So if I had started from here and then went down and then skipped over here and went over here, when I close the shape, it's gonna create a stitch across the nose. Or if I went this way and then tried to go back up here, it's going to create a stitch all the way up the head, which you don't want. So you always have to be mindful of that as well. I'm going to start from the bottom. And you don't necessarily need like 1 dot every inch or whatever, but it's just whatever is easier for you to space out. I don't want to double this part again. So I'm gonna make it a separate item. So I right-clicked this. I left-clicked this to select it, right? I'm gonna right-click to end it. And let's see, I'm gonna make it into a satin stitch. And something went wrong here. Okay, we're gonna undo that. I don't know what happened. Maybe because I didn't close my shape. We'll just do it over. Just in case. Okay, I'm gonna kind of overlap here. So yeah, everything I said about connecting, like going all the way around, was necessary information, but not in this case. Okay. So I'm going to close my shape. Oh, open the shape. Close my shape, open the shape. It doesn't seem to work. It wants to be one object, but I think I need to make it a line. Okay. Interesting here. We're gonna figure that out later, but in the meantime you can't see it because the color of the stitch is not right. So I went down here and clicked on color, clicked on this box will pop up. I'm gonna click the color, I'm gonna type in the color of the thread I want it to be. There we go. Did that turn black? That did not turn black. Oops, I turned something else black. Okay, so it did turn black, it's just really tiny. Why would this line be here? Oh, you know what? Maybe, let me go back to Satin Stitch. I'm gonna Satin Stitch this. I have to select the object to modify it. And if I can't click on that, I'm gonna do this. Okay. Maybe these dots are overlapping another dot, which you don't want. Or I can move this point, this end point here. Okay, that made it worse. Let's delete this one. So yeah, there's a, oh no, that didn't help. What is going on here? So yeah, like I said, digitizing, it's not the easiest thing. There's definitely a big learning curve. I'm just going to delete that. Let's figure this out. It takes a lot of like strategy, or though, who knows, it might be a simple fix to this, but I can't figure it out at the moment. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do a dot, dot, a dot, a dot, a dot, and end it here. See? This time it worked. But it's because it's not touching here. So I think there were previous dots up here overlapping this one, causing confusion. So you have to be careful. You can't put two dots too close together or it won't work. Okay, I'm going to move it up on my keyboard. I highlighted the area. I'm going to just move it on up to see. So I don't want any gaps there. Let's just zoom in. There's a tiny little space right here, but it probably won't be noticeable. I'm gonna just move it over a little, see if that makes it better or worse. That's pretty clean. Yeah, you can't see that. Okay, let's do the same on the other side. So basically you're going to do the same thing. So I did this, like I said, on the outside, and I just outlined this whole elephant, closed the shape by clicking this, and then clicked on this fill button, and then changed the color to gray. Then I added these lines, these little accent lines, and now I'm doing perfecting the head and the trunk with the same method. I'm clicking on Satin Stitch, and then for the eyes, I did dots around actually for the eyes, I used the magic wand, and what that does is whatever is on your background image, it goes by color, and you just click on it, right click to stop, and it will make the dots for you. However, you can't really use it for the entire image because it just doesn't do it right all the time. For like little small eyeballs, it works fine, but for, let's say I want to just magic wand this whole image, it wouldn't work because there'll be gaps in between each space, and if you try to move the dots, there's too many dots and it's just crazy. So yeah, unfortunately there's no like auto digitizing magic software tool in this, in this program, but I've researched as much as I could on auto digitizing, and it's just not recommended by most digitizers. It's just like there's too many things that go wrong with it, and if it does work, it's just not clean enough work. So okay, back to my three dots. So every time I click on a tool, it brings the background image and it hides everything I've done so far, so I can just focus on this. So I'm going to just leave a little space from that gap because I don't want that same problem occurring. But yeah, at least we figured it out, right? And I'm gonna go right up to this edge here, and I will end and satin. Okay, let's check here. Again, there is a gap. I'm going to click it. I'm using the arrows on my keyboard to shift, and let's move it this way a little more. And you can also move your object by finding this green square, and when your cursor turns into a hand, so here it's a cursor, when it turns into a hand, it's kind of finicky, you can move it manually to try to fit it together. Okay, I can't see over there. Let's magnify, and I'm magnifying by using the scroll on my mouse. Okay, let's move it up a little more. There we go. And it's not aligned. I'm going to move it to the left. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, then we're going to do the trunk, and same process. It's just like, it's not super complicated, but it's definitely tedious to digitize. Like, there are just a whole bunch of things that can go wrong, and you have to do things to make it right again. Okay, so I'm going to just follow these points along the trunk. It's rounded, so I don't worry about any sharp lines or anything like that. But yeah, I'm gonna right click to get out of my tool, and then I will click on the stitch that I want it to be. And there we go. Okay, let's take a look and see how I feel about that. I don't really like these lines here. Let's click on this. So I'm going to click on the actual white dot. Might be easier if I zoom in. Okay. Let's zoom this out. Let's zoom in. Okay. So I'm clicking on this white dot here. It's gonna turn black when you click it. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna make that a cusp and see if that changes the shape. Anything? Nope, looks the same. Let's see, break at a point. Let's try and make it curved. I mean, it's a line, so there's really not much you can do with it. But, something about this is not looking right to me. Like, it looks okay. I don't like those edges. Maybe I just need to move it down. Maybe it's just too close to the eyeballs. That's a little better. Move it down a little more. No. Move it up. Okay, so there's a lot of just like personal tweaks. And you can literally just tweak something forever. But it's really just up to you. Let me look at my patch here. Oh, no, that was how it was. It was higher up. So, and it looked good. Yeah, we'll leave it. So, on the software itself, the satin stitches look really thick. But when you actually stitch it out, it's not as thick as it appears on the screen. So keep that in mind when you're digitizing. Alright, so we are done here. Basically, I'm going to go up here to this create, and I'm going to do auto entry exit, and then I'm also going to do auto sequence by color. Because I only have 2 colors here, and my objects are, like, I have so many objects here, over here, on my object tree. I want as little thread changes. I don't want to have to do, like, gray, and then black and gray, but the way I digitized it, it should just be gray first, and then black for the rest of the lines. But, that's just a little tip. Okay, now we're going to go up here. We're going to click on this stitch simulator. I always leave this 3D stitches on so I can just see what it looks like. So, oops, sorry. Go back to your little create button, and I'm going to turn off the stitches, and I'm going to turn off the background image, and I'm going to turn off the stitches. One thing I forgot to mention, now that I see this, is that this is your hoop, right? So this is the 4x4 hoop. I have the Brother SC600. The max surface area to digitize to stitch out is 4x4. You can adjust this in the preferences and settings, and you can also choose whether or not to put this hoop on. But I like to leave it on so I know exactly how big to make my designs. But here is the background image, and when I opened the background image earlier in the beginning of this video, what you can do is click on the image. I can't do it now because I have stitches in my tree, but you can click on the image and resize it and move it around so that it can be centered in your hoop, and also it can be as large it can be big enough to fit the area that you need. Okay, so now let's go to Stitch Simulator. I'm going to just move everything to super fast so it doesn't take too long. And here is the preview of the elephant patch. So you can see there's just a little bit of space here and a little bit and more space here, but that's not really important as long as it fits in the hoop. You can always adjust it on your machine if you need it to be centered in a certain way. And you can even like size down if you need to slightly. To a certain extent, the machine will stop you when it reaches its limit of how small it can make it, but this is pretty much as big as it can make it. It can maybe go up, if you move over and maybe up a little bit, it can get a slightly bigger. But other than that, this is probably the biggest it would be. The patch itself is approximately, 1, 2, 2.5, 1, 2, 3, 2.5 by 3 inches, maybe something like that. I'm just guesstimating. But yeah, this is a 4 by 4 inch hoop, so it kind of fills it in. So do with that what you will. Okay, now we're just gonna play and see how this stitches out. And it's kind of hard to see with my background at the moment, so you know what? Let's go here to preferences. I'm going to go to display settings, background color. I changed it to a different color just so I can see if there's any gaps in my design, and also so I can see my cursor, because my cursor is white, and like I said, I can't see that well, so we'll just change it to white for you guys to see the stitch out. Okay, so there we go. See, that was you can totally see it a lot more. Maybe you could have seen it the whole time, but who knows? I couldn't see it. So yeah. Okay, we're gonna start over, and here we go. So it goes by doing the stabilizing stitches in the back, and then it does the main stitches. So you can also program where you want it to start and stop. I just let the program take care of that for the most part, unless there are issues that arise. So a lot of times when things are stitching out from top and bottom, right, and they meet somewhere in the middle, I noticed that depending on how well you hoop your fabric, if it's not exactly perfect, or there might be a little give, or depending on the type of fabric you use, if it has a stretch, it can leave a very tiny sliver of a gap between the stitches. So it really just depends on how you hoop your fabric. And yeah, so when I test stitched this one out, there were no issues with this, so I'm just gonna leave that. And then now I did the outside border satin stitch, and what's next? Okay, so it's still doing the satin stitch, stitching all around. Okay, did the eyes, it did the nose, did this side that we digitized, and now it's doing this side. And yep, it's done now. Okay, and over here I'll tell you the stitch count. This is 16,281 stitches. And that's because it is a complete fill, and it took up basically the whole 4x4 frame. So this is the largest it can do. One thing to note is that if you have the Brother SE600, the max amount of stitches it can do in one project is, I believe, either like 30,000 or 20,000. I think it's 30,000. So just keep that in mind when you're digitizing for a 4x4 hoop, what machine they might be using, and that there is a limit for smaller hoops and entry-level machines. So yeah, like SE800 and the Brother SE800 are more expensive models. They're more powerful and they have bigger surface areas, so they can do more stitches. But because this is a small hoop area or small stitch area, the max amount of stitches is about, I believe, 30,000. So yes, here is our new and renewed, improved, digitized elephant. I showed you all the steps I used to make, or the skills and techniques that I used to digitize this, even though I didn't start from the beginning, just, you know, for the sake of time. Hopefully, like I said, this was helpful. Remember to hit that subscribe button, thumbs up this video, ring the notification bell to be notified of when I post next. I will be doing a whole bunch more crafting videos, and I did get requests to do like beauty videos, which I used to do a long time ago, but I'll sprinkle those here and there because, you know, it's quarantine and nobody, I mean, I personally don't have the energy to glam up or anything. But, you know, sometimes you feel like being a little fancy. Anyways, make sure you subscribe and thumbs up, comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!